everybody, Remrov here. I'm a classic autist who makes these videos to educate about autism and to build a bridge in between the autistic and neurotypical worlds, and I hope to be a voice for non-verbal people with autism. In this video I want to explain more about autism and first responders. It might look like people with autism prefer to be alone, or that they prefer to not have any social contact. But often it's the exact opposite. We want to be part of things and we want to have friendships like everybody else. But being in public and being part of things can also be extremely scary and difficult for us. Certain situations, which are completely normal for people without autism, they can be very difficult and draining for us. So for us it's often easier to just decide to stay home all the time and to stay away from social events, even though we really don't want to. So because of this, it's very important that in general that there's more awareness and understanding towards autism. A very important part of this are first responders, the police for example. It is crucial that they recognize certain behavior as autistic instead of threatening or disrespect. When you call a person with autism, or when you ask a question, it might be that he or she does not respond. And it is important that this is recognized as not able to, instead of not willing to cooperate. It is also important that first responders that they know how to respond back to us to avoid more stress and anxiety. I have an example of a personal experience. Years ago, I did education when I still lived in the Netherlands, and I had to go to school by bus and by train. And in the Netherlands, they just started this new system for public transportation. Everybody had to have this travel card, and when you entered public transportation you had to check in using that card, and when you exited the public transportation you had to check out again using that card. And then the system would calculate how many kilometers you had traveled and how much you had to pay. But public transportation is very chaotic and draining and difficult for people with autism, and this system didn't make it easier at all. Getting on a bus at the bus station or a bus stop is very chaotic. In the Netherlands, people don't stay nicely in line as they do in Montreal, for example. Many people, they just push themselves on the bus at the same time. And often, because of this, it's very difficult to even get to the device where you have to check in, because a lot of people are just standing in front of it. And so occasionally I forgot to check in because everything was so chaotic, or I couldn't check in because I couldn't get to that device. And one time this was the case again, and while I was exiting the bus, I checked out, but then the device said you have just checked in. So I realized that I had forgotten to check in. So I run my card over the scanner again, and then it said you have checked out. So then I exited the bus and I walked towards school. But when they just started that new system, there were a lot of police officers at bus stops, checking to see if everybody was using their card correctly and if nobody was trying to travel for free. And clearly one of those police officers had seen or saw that I had run my card over that scanner twice, so he knew that I had forgot to check in. And I was just walking towards school, and suddenly I was grabbed by my arm really roughly and by this police officer, and he turned me around and he started to ask me questions, and a lot of questions at the same time, and he was quite agitated. And So I was quite shocked already by the fact that I was grabbed by my arm so hard and so suddenly. I don't like to be touched, and definitely so sudden and so firmly. It really startled me, and I was just in shock because of it. So I wasn't able to answer his questions. And because I didn't say anything and I was just staring at him, he got even more irritated, and then he called his two buddies. There were two other police officers standing there, and so he called them. So they were standing around me, the three of them together, and they asked each other questions, and they asked me questions, and I was still in shock and I was confused, and I didn't know what to say. I couldn't answer their questions. And in the meantime, they got more and more irritated. So then I tried to reach my backpack. One of them had put my backpack on the ground, and I tried to reach it because in my backpack I had this autism pass. I always took my autism pass with me, had my name on it and explanation about autism. So I thought if I show that to them, then they maybe understand why I'm just not able to answer their questions. But when I tried to reach my backpack, they got even more agitated and they immediately grabbed it away from me again. And they asked me, what do you have in your backpack? What are you trying to get out of your backpack? I think they thought I just had something dangerous in my backpack or something. So they startled me even more, shocked me even more, and got even more like I just wasn't able to say anything. This went on for quite a while, and I ended up paying a huge fine. And after that, they let me go. I could go to school finally, but I wasn't doing well at all. I entered my school and I immediately ran to the toilets, and I was crying, and I was in shock, and I couldn't stop crying anymore. And in the meantime, the classes already started, and I just realized I can't go to class. I just can't function anymore. I just couldn't stop crying. So I decided to just go home, and that was just the best thing to do. So if those police officers just were in the first place were a bit calmer and a bit more patient and just explained to me, hey, how we saw this and how come, why did you do this, and if they were just calmer and had more patience, then I could have explained to them what happened, and I could have explained about my autism, and then all this stress and anxiety could have been avoided. Another example of a situation that can be quite difficult and chaotic for people with autism is being at an airport. Airport is they have strict rules, they have a lot of customs officers, you have to do a lot of things in order to get on a plane and answer a lot of questions. And a few times I've seen this show called Border Security, in which you can see customs officers do that job, and they ask the travelers, they ask them questions about the purpose of their visit and what they have in their suitcase, etc. And when one of those travelers is a bit nervous, or when it takes them a bit longer to answer questions, then it's a red flag for customs officers. And that concerns me because when people with autism, they can already be nervous in an airport, without doing anything wrong. And it would be a shame if they customs officers, if they think that that they did anything wrong because they're nervous. So I also have a personal experience to share about that. Years ago I was traveling from the Netherlands to Canada, and when I landed here in Montreal in Canada, I had to go to this to the customs officer, and this was a lady, and she was very unfriendly, and she started to ask me questions very fast, and it always takes me a while to process questions and to answer them. And for her, it took too long, and so she started like, answer me quickly, and it made me even more nervous. And yeah, I wasn't able to concentrate at all on her questions after she did that. And so she started to ask me questions about my school and about my work and about what I had on in my suitcase and what my purpose of my visit was. And she thought it was very weird that I was still in school and that I was able to pay my own plane ticket. So I explained my situation to her, and I had saved money, and I bought my ticket myself. But she didn't believe me, and so she sent me. I could pick up my suitcase, but then I had to go to this department where where I was gonna be questioned, and where they were gonna search through all my belongings. They searched through my backpack, and they took everything out of my backpack and out of my suitcase, and more questions, and this all made me very nervous. And I didn't like it at all that they were so rough with my belongings. I'm always really careful with my own things, and they were really, really rough with it. And so so they started to ask me more and more questions, and because I saw that show on TV, the Border Security, I knew that I could better hide that I was so nervous, because otherwise it was a red flag to them. So really tried to hide that. And so it did end all correctly. I was afraid they were going to send me back to the Netherlands, but that was not the case, fortunately. They did send me, I was allowed to enter Montreal. But if that woman in the first place, a customs officer, I just had a bit more patience and a bit more understanding, then a lot of anxiety could have been avoided. At the airport, you can ask for assistance, and I have done that a few times with entering the plane and exiting. But it's more focused on people who are in a wheelchair, or people who can't walk. They always pick you up with a wheelchair or with a wagon, and then they are really confused if they can see that you can walk. So it would be good if they're aware of the fact that they're travelers also with autism, and they might need help with other things instead of walking. And often they pick you up with this beeping wagon, a loud beeping wagon. While noises like that are, people with autism are extremely sensitive to noises like that. So it's not really autism friendly. So in general, it's just good that there's more awareness among first responders about autism. There's this organization, a school here in the Montreal called Giant Steps. It's a school for students with autism, and they also do a lot of other projects. And they just started this project called Autism Inclusion. They go to airports, to police stations, to fire departments, and they give presentations about autism. So yeah, I think that's a very good initiative, something like that. And I think it would be good that a lot of other organizations in all kinds of cities all over the world take this example and do the same, so that it's just easier for people with autism to be out and about and to be in public. So this was it. I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments, or in the comments below, or you can send me a message. You can also consider to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can stay updated that way about my new videos. You can also become my patron on Patreon. For $1 a month, you can support me with this project, and you can also watch a lot of patrons only videos. So this was it. Pilaf and I wish you a great day, and we hope to see you with our next videos again. Bye!